we're going to do this. And so he kept working at the company, and I worked on the business plan and worked on getting the funding. And fortunately, we were approved.
Welcome back. We are here with Mike, hearing about his incredible journey of beginning a brand new business that he didn't even know that he wanted, with an incredible partnership. And what an amazing story so far. Now, Mike, you've been building this business now. You've been growing it with your business partner. Things are progressing. It's growing, growing, growing. Sounds like quite rapidly as you began to go through that period of time. Sooner or later, something happens where now all of a sudden you've got a major event that takes place in the business.
Mhm.
Walk us through the next kind of major challenge. I know there was many along the way, but something kind of really transpired in your partnership. Walk our listeners through what happened for you and how momentous this was as you were growing the business.
Sure. Well, for anybody who's listening who is an entrepreneur or thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, the one thing that you really got to wrap your heads around is that there are always going to be challenges and problems that you think are more monumental than they are. And it takes going through those things and coming out on the other side to continue to give you the confidence to keep going, because the life of an entrepreneur is a life of chipping away confidence. Like everything around you, whether it's employees who don't work out, vendors who don't work out, your bank's on your butt, regulators are at the door, just everything is just kind of eating away, chipping away at your confidence. And you have to continually rebuild that by getting to the other side of these problems and not being sidelined by them. But, some things are easier to say than they are to do. So Butch and I and everyone else who joined our team, we got really good at overcoming challenges. We got really good at problem solving. We got really good at, I don't want to say outthinking the competition, but we got really good at performing against the competition. And so we were growing and we were profitable and people were paying attention to us. And we were doing things well enough to be considered to be doing things well. And about 10 years in, I really needed a change, because I was not getting my confidence rebuilt or repaired as frequently as I think I needed to. And one of the big reasons, Richard, was that the management style that I had that I thought was really crucial to our business was basically one that looked like this. Everything rolls up to me so that I can be involved in every decision or make every decision. And that, which was a system that I had designed, it was like a perfectly designed system by me, was giving me exactly the outcome that I didn't want. So
It was perfectly designed to make your life increasingly more miserable. Is that what you're getting
yeah,
at?
yes. But it's even worse because as I had it designed in my mind, which is how it was being executed, I'm thinking to myself, why can't people see how I'm thinking inside, how I don't want this, right? It's like, I call it leading by osmosis, right? It's like, if I'm thinking about something, you clearly should be thinking about it too, Richard. I mean, how can you not be seeing this, right? So this, if anybody's out there that resonates with, I'm sure there are, because that is, where reality and perception just go right off the rails. And so I was feeling this, and I was frustrated and I didn't know what to do. And then on October 2nd, 2003, I got a call from one of our really great friend and someone who'd been with our company for a while, Jeff Dean, and he told me that Butch, my partner Butch, had been burned in a fire. And Jeff and Butch and some other guys were working at one of our facilities a couple of miles from home, or a couple of hours from home. And they were basically redoing the plant, Richard. This was a plant that was processing wastewater. We were that plant where you were treating, recycling wastewater there. And so we had an antiquated process, and we were so excited because we were tearing out all the new or old, putting in all the new. And, you know, the short story is Butch made a mistake. He went inside of a tank that he thought was empty and clean, and it was marked empty and clean, but he shouldn't have gone in the tank the way he did. He went in the tank with his torch. He fired up his torch. He cut into a pipe that was in the way of what he wanted to do. There was material left in that pipe. That material ignited, and essentially the flame went up the pipe. It hit the ceiling, bounced off the ceiling, and, you know, around the exterior of the tank, and the tank was basically heating up like an oven with him inside of it.
Oh man. Wow, that's unbelievable.
Yeah. And I mean, one of the guys, Rico Martinez, risked his life to get Butch out of the tank, and he was successful doing that. They got him outside, and yeah, he was badly burned, but alive. And this is what Jeff was telling me. This was where we were in the process. And
you're just learning this. You're on the phone.
I'm learning this. Jeff's telling me this. I'm learning this. And you know, they're going to take Butch to the hospital and see what happens. And I could hear in Jeff's voice that he was very concerned. But I have to admit to you, Richard, that even though it sounded horrible, I was concerned, of course. This guy, Butch, this guy who gave me the confidence to start the business, he was like the strongest, toughest, you know, person I had ever met. And so no matter how it sounded, I felt reasonably sure that this was going to be okay. And I was wrong, because 3 days later, his organs started shutting down, and he died. And that was, you know, I mentioned I was already in this kind of where I had led myself to be this perfectly designed system of frustration. And now my best friend, the person who had more confidence and support for me than anyone else in my life, and who was a perfect complement to me from a skill set standpoint and everything, was gone. And I felt responsible for that, even though I said he made a mistake. It took me a long time to be able to say that, because even so, he may have made a mistake, but if I had been more diligent in making sure that we don't permit those kinds of mistakes to be made, for example, and on, you know, your head just starts going.
Yeah,
so I felt
the spiral begins to go, and you're already in a state where you're thinking some of these things before the incident even happened, maybe to some degree.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and so with such an unbelievable circumstance taking place, I mean, you've given Butch so many adjectives to describe what he meant to you, what he was to you. What was the thing that allowed, you know, at what point did you realize that you could pick up the pieces? How did you begin to find a way to progress forward after that? And how long did it take for you to even be able to do that?
It took me a couple of years. I call it the being in the valley of uncertainty. And I dropped into this valley after his death, and maybe even a little bit before, if I'm being honest with myself. And in that valley, I felt like I wanted to quit for sure. But but I also felt like I deserve to have a pity party for myself because, you know, this is unfair. What's happened to me, what happened to Butch is unfair. And I just wanted somebody to come along and just stroke my ego, tell me everything's going to be okay, Richard. And, you know, lift me up out of that valley and dust me off and say, okay, so everything's good. Well, that never happened. That person never came along. And I just slowly but surely climbed my way out of there. With a lot of help from, we had strong team members like Jeff that I mentioned, and Rico and some others, but I had just never given them the autonomy to be as strong as they could be. And so over time, with some coaching and just, giving in to the reality of this isn't working, I need to try something else. I came to understand that for me to be in this and lead this business further, I had to be a different kind of leader. And so that's the path that I started on after I got out of that valley, or it helped me get out of there.
Wow. This journey, your experience so far in business, I mean, we overshot 10 years worth of all the challenges you had to overcome to land on this unfortunate circumstance with your business partner. Now, when we come back after our break, I think we're going to be able to really help people understand a little bit about what are some of the other key tools and things you had in place and that you would wish for business owners to have in place. So should an unfortunate incident like that occur for them, they can have some peace of mind. So we'll be right back with Mike after these incredible messages.